Section 1. The galaxy was a vast and intricate tapestry of species, cultures, and alliances, each more unique than the last. And in this massive cosmic ecosystem, there was one particular designation that sent a mixture of fear, awe, and sometimes even amusement rippling through the stars: Deathworlders. Earth's inhabitants were, by galactic standards, creatures from an unforgiving planet filled with wild predators, natural disasters, and climates that could swing between extremes. This had earned them the label Deathworlders, and while humans were generally peaceful, their survival instincts were respected, if not a little underestimated. On the edge of known space, Captain Rhys Callahan of the human exploratory vessel SS Valkyrie was leading a joint expedition with members of the Galactic Cooperative, a council of species known for its diplomatic endeavors. His crew included Earth's best scientists and engineers, along with representatives from the galaxy's most influential species. Their mission was a routine survey of a recently discovered system, rich with resources, and to foster relationships among the cooperative's members. Rhys was a tall, rugged man, with a sharp wit and an easygoing nature that belied his sharp instincts. He had long embraced humanity's role as the galaxy's oddity, Deathworlders who somehow managed to excel in even the most dangerous of conditions. As the Valkyrie neared the new system, he was deep in discussion with Zareth, a member of the Silva species, a reptilian race known for their cautious, logical minds. "Tell me again, Captain Callahan," Zareth hissed, his golden scales catching the dim light, "why your species chooses not to, how do you say, play nice, when conflict arises. We've heard tales of human determination that border on ferocity." Rhys chuckled. "It's not that we don't play nice, Zareth. Humans are just persistent. When things get tough, we don't quit. It's in our nature to push through, even when the odds are against us." Another of the cooperative members, a Friction named Selen, chimed in. The Frictions were small, fox-like creatures known for their intelligence and quick wit. Yes, we've heard all about Earth's never-give-up attitude. But surely there are limits, no? Rhys shrugged. You'd think so, but humans have a habit of finding ways around limits. Or breaking through them. It's just what we do. As the Valkyrie entered the system, their scanners picked up an unexpected signal. A small fleet of ships, broadcasting an unfamiliar code, was hovering near a resource-rich planet at the center of the system. Rhys frowned, exchanging glances with his tactical officer, Lieutenant Hannah Kim. "Anything on that code, Lieutenant?" Rhys asked, his tone serious. Hannah shook her head, her expression tense. "No, sir. It's not in our database. And they're not responding to hails." Zaretha's eyes narrowed. "Pirates, perhaps? Or a faction we are unaware of?" Rhys nodded slowly. "Could be. Let's keep our guard up. Inform the cooperative members to be prepared for anything." As they approached, it became clear that these ships weren't simply observing the planet. They were mining it, aggressively stripping it of resources, with no regard for the environment or any diplomatic protocols. Rhys activated the comms and addressed the lead ship, a large, imposing vessel marked with symbols unfamiliar to him. "This is Captain Rhys Callahan of the SS Valkyrie. You are mining in a cooperative designated zone without authorization. Cease operations immediately." A deep, gravelly voice responded, dripping with disdain. "Ah, the humans and their council lackeys. Go back to your peaceful negotiations, Deathworlder. This system belongs to the Narsky." Rhys recognized the tone, a challenge. It wasn't the first time he'd encountered species who saw humans as weak, despite the reputation Deathworlders held. But he also knew there were members of his crew and the cooperative who expected him to handle this diplomatically. "We're not here to start a conflict," Rhys said evenly, "but you're violating galactic regulations. Stand down, and we'll resolve this peacefully." The Narsky's laughter echoed through the comms. "Peace? From a Deathworlder? Pathetic. I thought you creatures were fighters, survivors. Clearly, the legends are overstated. Rhys felt his patience wearing thin, but he held his ground, not wanting to escalate things unnecessarily. However, his resolve was tested as the Narsky ships moved into an aggressive formation, their weapons aimed directly at the Valkyrie and its cooperative allies. "Captain," Hannah murmured, her voice laced with worry, "they're powering up their weapons. They're going to fire." Rhys tightened his grip on the console. So much for diplomacy. "All hands, prepare for evasive maneuvers. Looks like we're about to show them what Deathworlders can do." Section 2. As the first shots fired from the Narsky ships, the Valkyrie dodged expertly, weaving through the barrage with practiced ease. Rhys issued rapid orders, directing his crew to counter the Narsky's aggressive approach. His tactical officers worked seamlessly, deploying countermeasures and returning fire in carefully calculated bursts. However, the Narsky were relentless. Their ships, larger and heavily armored, bore down on the Valkyrie and the cooperative vessels, intent on proving their dominance. The Allied ships were holding their own, but it was clear that the Narsky had come prepared for a fight. Rhys's mind raced as he weighed his options. He couldn't risk open warfare between the cooperative and the Narsky, but he also couldn't allow them to bully his crew and the allies he had sworn to protect. He needed a strategy that would demonstrate humanity's strength without escalating the conflict beyond control. Turning to Hannah, he said, "Lieutenant, give me a read on their ship's power sources. Anything we can use against them?" Hannah scanned the data, her fingers flying over the console. "Their main vessels rely on a central reactor that distributes power to all systems. If we can overload their shields in one targeted area, it could destabilize the whole structure." Rhys grinned. "Perfect. Relay that information to the cooperative ships. We're going to focus fire on their weakest point." The cooperative members hesitated at first. They were diplomats and explorers, not warriors, and the idea of actively engaging in battle was foreign to them. But as the Narsky continued their assault, even Zareth and Selen recognized the necessity of a coordinated defense. Working together, the Allied ships launched a focused attack on the Narsky's vulnerable spot. Plasma beams and energy blasts converged on the designated area, overwhelming the enemy's shields. The Narsky flagship shuddered under the assault, its armor cracking as the power systems struggled to compensate. But the Narsky were not easily deterred. Seeing their flagship under attack only seemed to fuel their rage. They redoubled their efforts, targeting the cooperative ships with a new intensity. The Allied vessels, not designed for prolonged combat, began to show signs of strain. Rhys's mind raced as he watched the battle unfold. The cooperative allies had bought them some time, but it was clear that they wouldn't be able to withstand the Narsky onslaught for much longer. He needed a new plan, something that would turn the tide decisively in their favor. "Lieutenant," he called out, "do we have any special ordnance on board? Something that could deliver a concentrated impact without causing collateral damage?" Hannah's eyes lit up. "Yes, sir. We have a prototype EMP device designed for planetary exploration. It's strong enough to disable electronics within a localized radius." Rhys nodded. "Perfect. We'll use it to disable their weapons systems. If we can take out their offensive capabilities, we might be able to force a retreat." With careful precision, the Valkyrie maneuvered into position, aligning itself with the Narsky flagship. Rhys gave the order, and the EMP device was launched, emitting a powerful pulse that rippled through the Narsky's systems. One by one, the Narsky's weapons fell silent, their targeting arrays and propulsion systems rendered inert. For the first time in the battle, the Valkyrie and its allies held the upper hand. The Narsky's flagship was immobilized, and the remaining ships began to falter, their resolve wavering in the face of unexpected adversity. Rhys opened a calm channel, his voice firm and unyielding. "This is Captain Callahan. Stand down, or you will face the full consequences of your actions. This is your last warning." Section 3. The Narsky ships floated, momentarily stunned by the sudden failure of their weapons systems. Their crews scrambled to reactivate controls, but the EMP had done its job well, and key systems remained offline. As Captain Rhys Callahan watched their confusion unfold, he felt a rare moment of satisfaction, an opportunity to change the tide. The Valkyrie and the cooperative allies moved into a tight formation around the Narsky flagship. Rhys knew they had limited time before the Narsky managed to bring their systems back online, and he intended to use every second to their advantage. Captain Callahan opened a channel to the remaining cooperative allies and the Narsky, his voice calm but resolute. "This is Captain Callahan of the SS Valkyrie. Your fleet is disabled, and you are outnumbered. Cease hostilities and leave this system immediately. We have no desire to escalate this further." For a brief moment, silence lingered across the comms. Then, with a burst of static, the Narsky commander's voice returned, though this time his arrogance had waned, replaced by a strained defiance. "Human, you may have disabled our weapons, but this isn't over. The Narsky do not retreat." Rhys sighed, knowing this negotiation would be anything but simple. He was aware of the Narsky pride, but he also knew he couldn't allow them to regain strength and resume hostilities. He turned to Lieutenant Hannah Kim. "Lieutenant, prepare a tactical formation around the Narsky flagship. Let's keep a close watch on their movements. Cooperative ships should be ready to deploy shielding if they regain power," he said. The cooperative allies moved into formation, their ships encircling the Narsky vessels. Rhys's mind raced with possibilities. He knew he needed to convince the Narsky to retreat without provoking a long-term feud, but the Narsky were known to view compromise as a weakness. Yet, with their pride wounded and their flagship disabled, they might be more receptive to a different approach. "Put me on a private channel with the Narsky commander," Rhys ordered. The screen flickered, and the fierce visage of Commander Threx appeared. His eyes narrowed as he met Rhys's gaze, his expression a mixture of anger and confusion. "Why do you continue this, human? You've proven your point, Earth's Deathworld reputation. Are you really willing to turn this system into a graveyard for pride?" Rhys took a deep breath, maintaining a composed expression. "Commander Threx, we're not here for pride. We're here to protect cooperative territories and uphold galactic peace. This was never meant to be a conflict. Your men can still return home, no questions asked." Threx scoffed, crossing his arms. "You think we'd leave and simply admit defeat?" Rhys nodded, choosing his words carefully. "There's no need for defeat. You'll report that you encountered strong resistance and that you're conserving resources. You'll leave with your crew intact, with no unnecessary loss. Isn't that a more honorable option?" For a moment, Threx remained silent, clearly struggling with the decision. He glanced back at his crew, most of whom wore expressions of doubt and fatigue. The allure of leaving without further loss had a subtle but undeniable appeal. Finally, he turned back to Rhys, the fight in his eyes dimmed. "Very well, human. We'll retreat, but mark my words, this isn't over. The Narsky won't forget this." Rhys nodded, recognizing the victory for what it was. "Safe travels, Commander Threx. I trust we'll meet under better circumstances next time." The channel closed, and within moments, the Narsky fleet began to withdraw. The cooperative members sighed in relief, their ships returning to a defensive formation as the Narsky vanished into the depths of space. Rhys turned to his crew, allowing himself a rare smile. "Good work, everyone. Let's get a detailed scan of the system and assess any damage." As the Valkyrie settled back into its mission, the cooperative allies rejoined with expressions of newfound respect and relief. The human reputation as Deathworlders had once again been proven, and the galaxy would now think twice before underestimating humanity. Section 4. As the Narsky ships disappeared into the vastness of space, Captain Rhys Callahan felt the weight of the recent battle settle on his shoulders. The relief was palpable among the Valkyrie's crew and the cooperative allies, and even the stoic Zareth and excitable Selen wore expressions of relief and gratitude. For now, the immediate danger had passed, but Rhys knew that this encounter would echo far beyond this system. Back on the bridge of the Valkyrie, Lieutenant Hannah Kim and the rest of the crew moved quickly to assess the ship's condition. Minor damages and system malfunctions were being repaired, and Rhys took a moment to scan the reports before addressing the cooperative representatives. The experience had left an impact on them as well. Zareth, the Silva representative, observed Rhys with a newfound respect, his golden eyes gleaming. "Captain Callahan," Zareth began slowly, his voice resonating with awe, your kind have a remarkable way of handling conflict. I've seen many species approach to conflict, but I've rarely seen such resilience in the face of what most would consider certain defeat. Rhys shrugged modestly. Sometimes, the only way out is through. Humanity has had to adapt, to survive situations where we had few resources but plenty of determination. It's what makes us Deathworlders, I suppose. Selen, the friction, chuckled softly, his fur bristling with excitement. I had my doubts, I'll admit. But watching your crew, seeing how you handled the Narsky, I understand now. The tales of Deathworlders aren't just stories. Rhys raised an eyebrow. You thought we were just stories? Selen grinned sheepishly. Well, in a way. Your people's resilience is spoken of as almost mythical. But seeing it firsthand is something else entirely. The cooperative members exchanged glances, their expressions a blend of relief and newfound appreciation. For them, this encounter had not only secured the system but had reshaped their understanding of Earth and its people. As the Valkyrie and the cooperative ships resumed their mission, Rhys reflected on what this encounter would mean for humanity's future among the stars. The reputation of Deathworlders would undoubtedly spread, but Rhys hoped that the galaxy would come to see humanity's determination as a force for peace as well as strength. Several hours later, the Valkyrie's bridge was quiet as the ship returned to its exploration of the system. Captain Rhys Callahan sat in his chair, looking out at the stars, feeling a profound sense of calm. He had no illusions about the challenges that lay ahead. Humanity's path through the galaxy would be fraught with trials, diplomacy, and, at times, confrontation. But if today had proven anything, it was that humans had a place among the stars, not just as survivors, but as contributors to the larger intergalactic community. As the cooperative members and the Valkyrie crew shared stories and laughter, forging bonds that would last beyond this single mission, Rhys realized that humanity's journey was just beginning. Today's victory was more than a survival story. It was a story of acceptance, of learning, and of the indomitable spirit that defined humanity. And as the stars shimmered in the vast expanse of space, Captain Callahan knew that the galaxy would never look at Earth, or its people, the same way again.